John Brennan,
Here.
Al Brock,
Present.
thank you. Pat Brown,
Present.
Carrie Burrow,
Present.
Stu Haynes, President, Greg Grimes,
Here.
Aaron Hall has sent his regrets. Rhonda Jubenville. We have Rhonda online. Frank Kennis.
Here.
Adam Kilner. We have Adam online. Brad Woosley,
Present.
Betty Ann McKinnon. Present. Don McCabe,
Here, Phil.
Don McCallum,
Here.
Steve Miller,
Present.
Kristen Rodriguez, here, Lori Scott. Do we have Lori online? No. Ian Bean,
Present.
Jerry Westgate,
Here.
Brian White will be joining us online in a few moments.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Ask Kennedy to read our disclaimer for us.
Board members, staff, and guests, and members of the public are advised that the SCRCA board meeting are being video and audio recorded, posted on the authority's Facebook website, along with official written minutes. As such, comments and opinions expressed may be published, and any comments expressed by individual board members, guests, and general public are their own, and do not represent the opinions of full comment or comments of the full authority and or the SCRCA board of directors. The recorded video of the full authority meeting is not considered the official record of that meeting. The official record of the full authority meeting shall consist solely of minutes approved by the board of directors.
Thanks, sir. Now do the land acknowledgement. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority acknowledges that its watershed is part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Chinootan, who have a sacred responsibility to preserve the land and water for southwestern Ontario. The SCRCA acknowledges the treaties that allow us to work alongside the First Nation communities of Kettle and Stony Point, Ondanon, and Bakatawan, Walpole Island, to ensure that we share the responsibility of preserving the land and water. Item 2 are the chair's remarks. I just have 2 quick comments. The St. Clair Remedial Dinner is happening tonight in Corona. Those of you that can make it. And the Low Water Response Committee did meet last week to discuss the level 1 drought. So, item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda. I get a mover and a seconder. Frank and Betty Ann. That the board of directors accepts the agenda for the meeting presented. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest. It is requested each director declare a conflict of interest at the appropriate time on any item within the agenda, and that a director may have pecuniary interest. Item number 5 is our minutes. Looking for a mover or a second to the minutes of the board of directors meeting held September 18, 2025. Be approved and distributed. Terry Burwell and John Brennan. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So with no presentations or delegations. Given the number 7, which is our staff reports. 7.1 is the general manager's verbal report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, I was anticipating there to have been some legislative changes. We have been informed there was going to be something in the omnibus bill, I think just Bill 56, which was introduced this week. There was no mention of CAs, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be something in the next few days. Still don't know what, we haven't heard anything. The only item of note in the omnibus bill is with regard to the Clean Water Act and amendments being made to that. Shockingly, they're all very positive. They're all based on the comments of program managers for all the various source protected regions. So it's just streamlining things to make it simpler for various pieces of that source protection program to move forward. So that was very good to hear. The chair and I did attend Conservation Ontario on the 22nd, and this is where the barn came because the minister was invited to Conservation Ontario Council to speak. Normally, if the minister can't come, parliamentary assistant, deputy minister, or somebody to come, no one came. So that was concerning from the broader picture of conservation authorities, but despite being invited, like literally no one came. So, we don't know. We're not taking that as positive, I guess, is the best way to say it, so, but we'll have to wait and see, so. That's all I have right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And we're moving our second to the board of directors acknowledges the verbal report from the GM. Pat Brown. And Rod, will you second that? Thank you. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. 7.2 is the nominating committee. I'm looking for some direction here.
So I'll be looking.
As they sell the policy, yeah.
I'll be looking for nominations for representatives from Sarnia, Lambton, Chatham-Kent, and Middlesex.
Okay, and the 2025 members were Pat Brown, Terry Burrell, Rhonda, Jiminville, Frank, Betty Ann, Laurie Scott. Right. So do we just call for nominees? Okay, Terry?
I'll volunteer for Sarnia.
Okay,
What is this for?
this is the nominating committee.
What is the nominating? Yeah.
They make decisions about the committee structures of the students.
Community structures.
Well, committee, who's going to sit on the committee, who's going to be.
Oh,
And we get a report once a year, right, based on what their recommendations are.
Yep, they'll make a recommendation to the annual general meeting. So,
It's basically based on interest as well, but they're the ones that bring forward the meetings, so it's kind of free. Frank's still stay on? Okay, that's what I'd like to hear. Frank's staying on, Terry's staying on. Betty Ann, would you do another term on the nominating committee?
yes, I can do that.
Thank you. Do you have a fire off these nominations?
I
Pat,
can-
would you have any?
Yeah, I can serve again.
Thank you. So we said Rhonda, and do we need how many people?
we need one from each.
So we have a Sarnia,
Sarnia. We have a
Lambton,
Middlesex,
we have a Pat's Lambton,
um,
was Chatham Kent,
Chatham. It looks like we have two from Middlesex.
and can there be more than two, more than one?
No, you only have, who's the second one?
I have Betty Ann and Frank. Are you both?
Betty Ann's not.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm willing to. Take our.
I don't think either one from Chatham Kent is here.
No,
no, I don't have anybody from Chatham Kent, so we can assign someone and let them know.
Is it Rhonda last time?
Mhm.
okay, so Frank's agreed to withdraw to balance it,
That's
and
fine.
then let's leave Chatham Kent vacant, and we'll approach Rhonda to see if she is serving the term, we do that?
We can do that.
Or can we just appoint her and then negative option her in? Okay, so we'll appoint Rhonda and we'll follow up there to see if that's okay.
Thank you.
So looking for a mover that the 2026 nominating committee consisting of the following board directors representing 4 districts of the authority, being Sarnia, Lambton, Chatham, Kent, Middlesex, B. Betty Ann McKinnon, Pat Brown, Terry Burrell, and Rhonda Jubenville. And further, that the nominating committee's recommendation of the 2026 committee membership be presented at the annual general meeting. Terry and Frank. All. Okay, thank you, everyone. I got through my first nominating committee thing. 7.3 is our tentative schedule of meetings for 2026. Looking seconder that the board of directors approves the 2026 tentative schedule of meetings for the board of directors and committees dated September 24th, 2025. Steve Miller, Sue Cates, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Just a question on process, because next year's an election year. This board is in place until the annual.
That's right.
meeting in 2027.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's normal.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. 7.4 is the 2026 draft budget report. And the motion as proposed is the board of directors acknowledges the 2026 draft budget of $9,034,753 with a proposed municipal general operating levy of $1,743,739 and general capital levy of $16,691. And further, the board of directors direct staff to circulate the draft budget booklet to member municipalities for information and input and to post on the governance section of the SCRCA website in accordance with Ontario regulation. Mover and seconder. Frank, Jerry, thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, did I read that right? Is that roughly a 5% increase?
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that compensation, does it include any across the board increases for, say, 2026?
Yes, it does.
So that's
So
covered?
Yeah, everything's covered in that.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion on the draft? Don, go ahead.
It's looking into the crystal ball situation, but with the upcoming federal budget, will there be any issues possible with regards to some of the funds that you're looking at receiving from the feds? And you've also raised, or, very greatly so concerns with what the province might be up to. How will that? I know we can't think about that until it happens, but how heavy are we on relying on those things to stay static for this project?
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, with regard to the federal funding, it is a key piece of the budget. But we have been in many lengthy discussions with Canada Water Agency. And we have been assured that our funding is secure at least for the next 4 years. It is it's a new agency, so they're not gonna more than likely cut funding from it this time around. And that because it's a bi-national program, so the United States doing similar things on their side to what we're doing on our side, that generally those don't get touched, they're pretty enough down, so we should be okay. But there's always that caveat, should be okay. As far as we know, be fine.
The East Wing was gonna be fine too.
Anything else? Tom?
Well, like, Richard.
So you ready?
No.
Then Al, did I see your hand up? No? Okay, thanks. Any other questions on the draft budget then? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Yeah, it's carried, thank you.
Oh, sorry, one more thing through you, Mr. Chair, if any council wishes me to come speak about the budget, just let me know. I'll be there.
7.5 is the notice of hearing committee training. And with the remover and seconded, the board of directors acknowledges the report dated September 24th, giving notice of mandatory training for all hearing committee members on Thursday, December 4th, 2025. Mover seconder, Harry Burrell and Frank, thank you. You want to?
So it's open to all board members, like we just, if you're on the hearing committee, please make sure you attend, but all board members are welcome to attend as well. If you have any questions about any of the processes or anything that you'd like to get me sending in advance, so I can send them to Mr. Ola, so he can address them in his presentation. John Ola has been a lawyer since 1975. And he has represented authorities for at least the last 40 years. So this is his area of specialty. So we're very happy to have him. We will be recording it as well. So if you can't attend, we'll have, you'll have the opportunity to see there. But it's more, like I said, for questions and interaction about what the processes are and getting clarity.
Harry?
Yes, can we have a letter which are on the thing?
Yeah,
I don't have that in front of me at the moment.
Is it behind you?
There are 11 members on the committee. We'll get the names for sure of everybody, so they're aware.
I'm going over there, plan.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Sure.
And it will be virtual training, it'll be done by Zoom,
Yeah, so
so.
that was it.
So the,
And this training time was picked because it's the time we had our hearing board scheduled. So we didn't anticipate a hearing, so that's why we.
they all in favor? Very, thank you. 7.6 is the, with the removement and second board acknowledges report dated October 1st, 2025 regarding the A.W. Campbell Conservation Area septic sewer upgrade, and further approves option 1, a raised bed absorption trench septic system with gravity sewers for application to the Ontario Ministry of Environmental Conservation and Parks for environmental compliance approval, or ECA. Sue? Albrock, thank you. Any discussion, questions on that? Ian?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chair, wondering why it's so expensive, seems like that's a lot of money for services.
The answer coming?
Sure. So this has been a couple of years in the making. It took a long time because we felt the same way. We kept looking for alternatives that might lower this cost, but through pre-consultation with MECP, every alternative we came up with, by the time they kind of put some conditions on it, we were gonna be back up to the same price. So the sewer network component, I believe, is around 500,000 of it to actually install the sewers. The rest is because our septic beds are really outdated and undersized. For example, the main septic now has about 500 to 600 feet of run of trench, and the new one's gonna have 1,800 meters, so closer to 6,000 feet. So we're a tenth the size that we're supposed to be by the design flow. The other reason it gets so expensive, and the main reason, is we're on heavy clay. So the whole system's raised bed, so that's all trucked in, sand, gravel, covering a really large area. And then a sand mantle if you don't have, so it's heavy and trucking in aggregate is where the cost is.
Any further? Thank Sue, or Frank, sorry.
Yeah, so how does this get paid for? Like, where does all the money, it's a big, so there's it all come from?
Proposal right now, what I'm asking for approval for is to go get the environmental compliance approval, because that. We've done pre-consultation, but it's a different unit with MECP that will actually give us the approval, which could tweak the design a bit depending on their requirements. But it's proposed that it would come out of the conservation areas reserve. Which currently there isn't enough funds there for that estimate, but it's gonna really, it will significantly deplete that reserve.
And are there other campgrounds in the authority that are heading towards the same type of need, or yeah?
All three are in need. It's gonna take us some time, right? So we're gonna have to complete this one and then rebuild that reserve before we can tackle the next, but all three campgrounds we have, none of them have an environmental compliance approval. They all have old septics that were prior to that requirement. And as we go to do any sort of upgrade or change to those systems, it's a requirement now that we get an ECA, which will require a whole set, like, large scale upgraded system. It won't let us just put a small piece in place, like a small septic improvement. They want to see the whole property come up to standard.
John?
For planning purposes, I wonder, is it possible for the board to receive some kind of notification as to how long it takes to rebuild reserves? If you're gonna do multi-year budgeting, how long does it take to put another $500,000 or $1 million or 1.5 or 2 million to build reserves? I think that would be an interesting thing to look at. Does it take 5 years, 7 years, 11 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably an important long-term budgetary consideration.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, yep, can watching that for us. Thank you, Don.
So with regards to this particular project, which is, I don't disagree, that's what we needed. How will this impact the Campbell master plan with all the other plots that were included in that one time, because you can't download everything on the campground without, driving people to be.
Yeah, so. The project itself doesn't interfere with any of those other upgrades as far as the space they need, the location they would be. I assume you're talking about the budget.
Just talking about budgetary
Yeah,
money.
it's gonna push a lot of it down. There's many small things that are within that plan that I think within operating budgets can be done over time. We can keep an eye on grants and try to find opportunities. The bigger items that are in that master plan, the expansion of camping, new upgrades to washroom buildings, new visitor centers, those without grant funding are probably gonna be delayed. It's after this project is complete, we really need to start looking at the plan for the septics at the other campgrounds. So yeah, it's gonna delay a lot of those potential upgrades.
So the one thing that I noticed within the consultant's report is that maybe they didn't realize they crossed the county line when they went in the gate of Campbell's Park, because when technically speaking, when you're pulling the gateway that way to your right is North Elmington. All the campground is
Southwest Millside.
Southwest Millsites, and that was not noted within the consultant's report, so just wanted to report that we appreciate receiving the information, but it's also important to keep Southwest Millsite in the loop.
Thank you, John. Kristen? Oh, sorry. Thanks. And then you, okay, Pat, go ahead.
Did I hear correctly of the three options, the preferred option was option 2?
One, the motion calls for option 1.
Okay, and what type of timeline are they expecting construction to get underway for this?
So we would expect we to get an ECA in place sometime through 2026. At that point, we'll come back because that could tweak designs or change costs depending on what requirements are put in place by the province. The timeline for construction, we think, will be phased over either 2 or 3 seasons. Reason being, we don't want to be in there. We can't be in digging sewer lines in during camping season, and our window to build outside of camping season is narrow, depending on frost and winter conditions. So it's gonna be phased. It's also good for us financially to phase it over a few years, but really it's a necessity. So, you know, the earliest we can start construction would be following next camping season. So following 2026 and again, following 2027 at minimum. But it could go out as far as a 3-year phased approach depending on weather.
Pat, anything else? Good.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
So just to follow up on your timeline there, but then back to your other comment about they all need to have a new one. How does that affect those ones? The other, because it's gonna push those out even further as well,
Yeah,
right?
so realistically, this is the one that's currently experiencing some sort of failures. The other 2 are functional, but aren't up to current standards. So yeah, realistically, we might be 3 years of work. We might be 5 to 10 to rebuild reserves before we can even tackle the
Oh,
next one.
okay.
Like these are gonna get pushed really far into the future, purely on budgetary.
And that's manageable with how they're working now.
As of right now, they're functional. They're also undersized, but they're newer than this one. The Campbell Park septics are both original, and I think potentially predate most of the campground. And I'm not sure they were upgraded when some of the campsites were created.
Thank you.
Hey, Kristen?
Thank you. Has it ever been looked at, about leasing out these campgrounds to a third party management company?
In my time, it hasn't in the last 7 years. There could be history before that where it was considered, I'm not aware, but it has, no one's approached us and we haven't looked at that as an option over the past 6 or 7 years.
I'm just wondering if it might be more cost effective. It would be interesting to know. Okay.
I think if you lease them out, you'd still have to be responsible as the owner for the septic and.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of overall costs. To help maybe cover those reserves.
Thank you. Then just a note for budget purposes, I think what we're looking at then is the potential failure of septic systems before we can place the funds in reserve. And we need to certainly discuss what we do if that occurs. Either we increase our levy or we borrow. And I think that discussion needs to take place. So I make a note, ask to make a note for budget considerations. That we take a long look at our septic systems, the reserves, and what our plan is for replacing these systems if we don't have sufficient funds in reserves when they fail. So it would be prudent that we discuss that at budget time and take appropriate measures or plan for what we're going to do if and when maybe perhaps it happens.
That's fair because the liability aspect of this has been brought forward to us, so kind of give action on that as well. As part of John's initial request, he reserves and
I heard 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
Place in the discussion here. So, you know, a report on when, what, just, we have to project reserves and we have to project when they're gonna fail and there's gonna be a gap and what do we do?
Yeah. Good, thank you.
Anyone?
Any other, oh, Pat, go ahead.
I just, could Greg touch on the existing system? Are all sites, are they dumping into the septic system, or do they have to actually go to the dump station? How's that operating right now?
So currently at all our sites, we have no sewers in place, so every seasonal camper has to use their holding tanks within their trailer. And then they have an option, so we offer pump outs, so we have a small honey wagon that we pull behind the tractor and we go site by site to those who have paid for that service. And then we take it to the dump station. For those who don't pay for that service, they have their own little ones they can pull by hand, little carts that they fill up with sewage, and then they take it to the dump station. Transient campers, because they're driving in and out, they'll take their trailer to the dump station when they leave park.
This will give us a complete sewage system with this option 1.
Correct, this will be a complete sewage system for the seasonal campers, and this time continuing to have the transients go to the dump station on their way out as they're used to. And to note with this, it is a much better service we'll be providing, and that would come with, you know, upon completion of sewers installation, we'd be raising fees. Sewer campsites are typically at a higher price and premium than non-sewer. So it will aid in recovering the reserves a little bit by adding the sewer component.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, me.
You, sorry.
I do have another question. When comparing to a private run seasonal campground, they like purchase their lots and you don't do that, right?
Seasonal campgrounds, even private, generally run the same way we do. For seasonal camping, so there's seasonal living and seasonal camping.
Right.
There are private campgrounds that do seasonal camping, which is similar to what we do, where you're getting a camping permit for the year.
Right.
Then there's seasonal living where it's a more of a home that's being installed for either 10-month, 11-month, or sometimes 12-month living. I'm not sure, I think they may have slightly different arrangements, but we're in line with what most seasonal campgrounds do, which is you're being issued a permit for the year.
Okay. I was just trying to understand the difference, because I know one campground in particular just redid their water lines, and then it was a levy that was put to the benefit of seasonal living, I guess,
Okay,
property owners.
yes, which we would have that option as they're just issued a camping permit.
But you did comment that when there's sewer lots, the breach will affect that.
Yeah, we've looked in and done comparisons, and right now for 2026, we proposed I believe it's around $640 for weekly sewage pump out. That's about what our fee would increase. Everybody would be paying additional. That would put us in line with other campgrounds are charging for sewer campsites. So I think it's in the report that I think it would generate roughly an extra $40,000 or $45,000 annually at that site. By having sewer sites and having our fees adjusted. For
Okay, Sue?
So just in the big picture of the other campgrounds with your honeypot explanation, and I forgot years ago, that was how it was when I was camping somewhere, and now I got a clear picture. So when you're dumping in a main system, or let's call it not sewered lines, that'll make the lifetime and the failure far less, right? Far less risky.
what the advantage is, we're not moving, and it's NECP's recommendation, that their preference was for us to have sewers. They don't like us hauling sewage around the property. There is potential for leaks and spills, and every time you disconnect the hose, you know, there's a chance for a spill at every trailer, right? So this was their preferred method, is that everybody's hooked into sewers. As far as longevity of the septic system, it's very similar. We're putting the same amount of sewage into the dumping station, which goes through the distribution. So similar in that respect, but reduces the risk of spills.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor then of option one? Okay, that's very good. Thank you, Greg. 7.7 is that the Board of Directors acknowledges the report regarding the updated master plan for Cold Stream Conservation Area. Further direct staff to proceed with stakeholder and public consultation. And from mover, Ian, seconder, Terry, thank you. Discussion. Brad,
Mr. Chair, just maybe I missed it. What was the cost of, it's quite detailed. What was the cost of that?
Ken?
The
Greg,
Sorry,
of the Cold
just
Stream
clarifying here.
master plan.
Greg, can I answer that question?
The cost of
That master plan.
done in German.
Oh, great. Well, that's good. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions on the master plan? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
You have a question? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Don.
No problem. I didn't get my arm up very quick.
I thought you were the first to vote.
Well, I'm never usually that quick at anything. But, no, I'm just, I think maybe my comments are either premature or unnecessary, but, the recommendations and timeline issue, yes, this document has to go for public consultation. And therefore, I'm assuming after public consultation, the recommendations can be further refined and we'll see these documents again, and then a possible timeline can be applied to them. Because everything is boiling back to the reality of if funding is available. And that's a harsh way of having to do things. It's also known as farming. It's I'm just looking for a little bit more clarification because of how we're gonna see these master plans turned into action and the timelines of what can we do, what do we have to do immediately and what can we do a little bit later, but not be kicking it down the road too far in the future and be accommodating the overall needs of the area.
Yes, so you're correct. This will go out for comment, same as the AW Campbell draft plan or for comment, we've now received those comments. We're making revisions to the draft based on the comments we received. It'll then come back to the board for another review. We have intentionally not put timelines on individual items, and it's for the exact reason we talked about. For us, it's often as funding is available. And so for a property like Coldstream, that's one of our day use properties. We are fortunate Hillside Center supports us and funds the day-to-day operations. But it's through an agreement with that municipality, and to push some of these bigger ticket items, it would have to be with their support and at their request. Otherwise, we have to search for grant funding. So we can put timelines on some maybe things that we feel are urgent, but the longer term items, it's really as funding is available.
Well, further to that point, I think the document summarizes it very well, that education opportunities would probably necessitate some action taken towards the building around that place and the washroom facility, and just again, Middlesex Center may have a viewpoint in that, how far could they move on it, and therefore, just setting the stage for the reality of timelines and necessity coming back in the final documents we all see here after consultation occurs. If it's highlighted in the documents that you're planning on doing this with all the different areas, and I appreciate that.
Any other comments on the master plan? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. That's a period. Now moving to the consent items. Looking for a movement and seconder, the board of directors approves the consent agenda and receives the accompanying items 8.1A to 8.1I. Betty Ann moved it. Terry seconded that. Any questions, comments on any of the items? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Let me slow things down a little. Item 9 is our director correspondence. Item 9.1 is that the board of directors acknowledge a letter from the town of Clinton, Wyoming regarding SCRCA 2026 budget. Mover and seconder. Rhonda, I saw the movement, and Lori, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, it's carried. Item 9.2, that the board of directors receives for information the email received on October 6, 2025 from Jessica Gisome, supporting Conservation Authority funding and fair hearing guidelines. Mover and seconder. Frank and Terry, thank you both. Any questions or comments on that email? Crystal?
Yeah, there was a lot more correspondence, other correspondence, but unfortunately didn't make it to this agenda, so I believe once all is received, it will then be December. Okay.
Thank you. Clarification, all in favor then? Okay, that's carried. Any new business around the table? Crystal?
Thank you. So I've received,
Mr. Chair, could you speak up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Cheers. Thank you.
I've received, some residents, in particular in the Lambton Shores area, some from Clinton Miles, who do utilize a conservation area in, forest, about the disrepair, is it called the LC Dodge?
That's the Dodge.
That's the Dodge, so. That the pathways, paved pathway, multi-use pathway around the pond area, is in quite a bit of disrepair. I'm not sure if it happened because we had a lot of extreme flooding with all the heavy rains in the spring, which typically floods out some of those areas and pathways. And then we had the extreme dry heat in the summer that made it crumble. And then the age, to the point where there's concern for injury, some of the areas are usable. Then there's the island there within the pond. And the access way there and the bridge, like what are the plans for? Is there some sort of master plan, you know? And then the third question, sorry, is, Grass County, a lot of the neighboring property owners, give a helping hand with that, apparently, so,
So,
and should they be?
so Esley Dodge is one of our least conservation areas, so that's leased to Lambton Shores, and they do the maintenance of that property. So I can go take a look, the lab, I don't think I've been there this summer, I was there last year and it seemed in reasonable condition. We've had talks with them in the past about the island, and so the way that works is there's an inflowing creek. They're going around an island and there's a little pond area. They have hills like an amphitheater all around it. And then it outlets over a low flow crossing with, there is a tile that goes under it. So during summer conditions, that's the access to go across to the island. And then during spring flooding, you don't have access to the island. We've had discussions with them in the past of potentially removing that structure in the pond and naturalizing it. If, I'm not sure they were prepared to lose that small pond area at the time. It was something Garish and I have been discussing about. So I can revisit, and then just go see how the maintenance looks and contact them if we have any concerns for risk. But as far as, yeah, that day-to-day maintenance, it's not through our.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Any other new business?
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna do Don and then you, Pat, okay?
okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I just noticed in the, package we received about the grants offered for land stewardship projects, and I'm interested in, if it's possible to have either, today or, down the road of, getting an update on the, reality of, where that program is at and how it's been, received, because I'm, hearing good things about it. The bad thing that's about it is the, reality that there's no extra money in the back pocket to, adopt some of those stuff R&D right now, because, the books aren't balancing that well.
So here, Mr. Chair, we'll definitely get a report. We can have a report next board meeting with regards to the SPY program and what we've been able to accomplish this year. I know it's been very successful, so.
Thank you.
Pat Brown?
Thank you, Chair Grimes. I just wanted to ask, are we still pursuing grants that need to be for work that needs to be done along our shorelines? In particular, I know City of Sarnia and also here in St. Clair Township, we have seawall work that needs to be done, and I know each year when Garish was here, he'd reapply and keep us abreast of what monies he was going for under the WIKI or DMAF grants that are available. Is there any update on that?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we do still start again. We do still go after those grants. We are still working with Garish on a number of projects. There has been changes specifically to WECI. So WECI was traditionally a year-by-year program. It's now gone multi-year. So therefore, there's some years where you just won't be able to apply because the money's been allocated already for a multi-year project. But we have specific areas that have been previously identified to make sure they remain on the list. And we will always proceed or go after funding, be it through the DMAP fund or through the WECI fund to get those projects.
Okay, so those projects I previously mentioned are still on the board that in line for funding when it becomes available. Okay, thank you.
Brad?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry, I should have mentioned it during the budget, but I just wanted to pass on to thank you and Ken and staff for reducing that budget from 8% down to 5%. And from another thing I'd like to mention is, as you know, the province is still pursuing housing development. And I would hope that the authority would continue to work hard through the planning department to try and promote and keep things moving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? Crystal?
If I may follow up on Pat's question about the funding. Is there a window or do you just put in your, once you have an agreement in place with the jurisdictions? That they're committed to doing projects because it's 50/50.
Yeah.
Do you just do that in time until a certain, like, how does that work? What are the timing?
So I think with Wacky, this is year 2 of their funding, so any projects we would look at applying for year 3. The trick is that another adjustment that's been made to Wacky is unless the project has already been authorized by them, so it has to already be on their existing books. Then they won't look at funding it because of the number of projects. So everybody's, just a reminder, WECI is $5 million divided between the 36 conservation buildings. So it's literally like, that's why they've done this process of pre-identifying projects that are required most, like there's a committee that reviews everything. So anything new, chances are it's not gonna get funded, but we would still make sure it's brought to the committee's attention and brought up as an item that if there's funding available at some point, then this would be something to look at and make sure it gets on the frame.
Is that because there's not ongoing funding towards this? It was just like a one-time funding and once it's used up, it's gone?
That's, yeah, so each funding cycle, what'll happen is there's potential that not all the monies were expended, so they will reach out again, but because they already have this preordained list, that's the list they go to. So I'm not sure, I think it's just a backlog of programs, I'd have to double check on it, but there's such a backlog of stuff to be done across the province that unless it's already pre-identified, they don't tend to want to add it to the list right now. They just sort of want to clear the backlog first.
You don't have the time.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, and any other new business? We're seeing none. We have a motion to adjourn. Ian and Sue, thank you. And we are adjourned. Thank you, Florida.